Went to the wrong scene there. Welcome everyone to the final stream of the year. I'm your host, the Bad Luck Gamer, with my co-host Glue Boy.
Hello.
And a very special guest, my daughter.
Ah.
As her mom is out at the moment. She'll be back soon. So I have to watch her a little bit. She loves eating the mic.
It looks fun.
And this is the reason why my channel has been kind of on hiatus most of this year, because babies.
It's a lot of effort. It takes a lot.
It is a lot. Today we're just gonna be talking about everything that's happened this year. I think Mom's home. Everything that's happened this year. I also needed to change my camera because every time there's an update, always messes with everything.
Yeah, because like a lot of the color balance is very different, very off.
It's just the exposure that, and then sometimes, yeah. So right now the exposure just won't change on my thing that lets me change it. I don't know
really
why.
Weird.
Oh, so I guess we're just gonna have a slightly darker stream today.
Chill it fits because right now for me it's stopping a little bit, but it was drenching snow, just pouring it this morning. Like it was a slow kind of build up. Like, oh, it's raining. Next time I look out the window, it's just a massive amount of snow, and it's still snowing quite a lot. Which is sad only because I cannot look forward to snow days anymore for campus because I'm an essential employee.
Yeah.
But like, imagine I get snow days, I'd be so happy.
I mean, if it snows hard enough, you might.
That's my hope. I mean, currently it's winter break, so I mean, if there's any time that it's okay to call off your employees, today.
Yeah. We're on the other side of the mountains. We have the rain, a lot of rain, a lot of rain, historic amounts of flooding.
Sounds like you guys are in a safe spot at least.
Yeah, we're fine. The most we have to worry about is I'm digging out the front grass patch to put gravel in eventually, and that's. Sorry, I'm trying to get the camera to get fixed. There's just nothing I can do. I don't know why this gets locked up so bad.
It does seem like that there's a trend of that, especially in your guys' area, that is like replacing grass with gravel. I see it with all the houses over there.
There's been a few, yeah. I mean, for us, it's just we have a lot of friends, and it would be convenient if we could park more than 2.5 cars in our driveway. So
true, that makes sense. Like, it's the bit where I keep seeing it every time I'm like looking around or in your area. I'm like, all right, what new houses are there? And a lot of places are replacing, because granted, a lot of them don't even have a big backyard or side yard or whatever. They're replacing it with completely gravel, which makes sense because it's easier to maintain. You don't have to like do anything with gravel, but for someone who has a dog, it's like, man, guys, give us maybe a little lawn, please.
Yeah, I mean, we have a side yard and we have a back area, and technically everyone here does it, but we have like an extension to our property in a sense where there's this little patch of like land in the swamp area behind us that,
yeah,
no one's going to use, and as long as we don't build on it, we can use it how we want. So
yeah, exactly. Like, it makes sense. That is like the fair reason where it's like, I understand why it's only an issue for me trying to get a place where it's like, that's something I have to immediately look at. Is there some form of yard?
Yeah. But yeah, so we've dug it up. We're like, I don't know, a quarter of the way done. And so now it just turns into like a mini pond for a little bit when it rains.
Yeah, that's just like a fun point to do that project.
Yeah, well, baby, as everyone saw, this year has been a rough one for the channel, and for me, being a new dad. as baby takes a lot of time and effort and attention. Like, anyone who was watching the beginning of the stream, which pretty much not a lot of people will be, but after the fact, I'm sure people will see she was just struggling. She doesn't like to sit down. She's a very independent child who loves to climb, which is a dangerous combo because she's always climbing on things she's not supposed to be climbing on.
Yeah.
And she's not afraid to run away from mom and dad when she wants to do it.
Like, it's gonna make it a bit easier when she's like slightly older, because that means that a good independent play is easy. Uh, and then also there's just a lot of fun routes to have good, safe, air quote, like dangerous play. Because my TikTok that feed is either people cooking, dumb like shit posts, and a lot of parent advice. There's like a handful of people who are like really good parent advice accounts, and one of them, he was going on about like how to properly do like a dangerous play for your kid.
Yeah.
Which is just, you're there to make sure that something is good, but like if you dissuade a child their whole like young life of doing anything dangerous, that's a bad thing. But like obviously give them a helmet or something.
Yeah.
If they're gonna do some like crazy shit. And then I had one like just last night that was like the bait was why I beat my child, and then it was him talking about winning in like races against his kid. He's like, I do at least once every time we do a little competition to teach him how to lose properly.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to teach my kids that victories aren't given away, but there's no shame in defeat. Like, to learn is the greatest thing anyone can do while doing anything. And so,
yeah, that's the bit I've like been considering with of it down the line when eventually I got kids, is like there's some good competition level things, and there are also some really good like out of the house kind of sporty things. For me as a kid, I hated it because I hated like team sport. Like I hated things like soccer and basketball because they were so regimented and like team based. I never liked it. But if like when I was a kid, if I was a child and my dad introduced me to like MMA stuff, like any form of fighting sport, I probably would have gotten super into it. Because like I'm into it a lot, and I was into it as a kid. I just didn't know that was an avenue I could go. Like, but it was always never like I never wanted to do like karate or taekwondo. I wanted to like box, because like I want to do the cool thing. And like now I love boxing. Boxing is like a really fun workout. So that's something I'm keeping in my head of like, all right, let me make sure they have a choice to have the fun sport. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they get super into HEMA or something.
Well, and we also just live in a really good area. We have the bay, not far from here, and beaches and stuff. And so she's going to get a lot of chances to be outside and see nature and do some kayaking when she's big enough to do some kayaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so having a child has honestly made it very difficult to work channel. And a few months back, like right after the summer rush, I was just at a point where I was like, okay, doing videos is taking a lot, and I'm barely like doing anything. Like one video every month or every other week, it was just not enough to like keep any momentum on the channel. So I made a choice of like, okay, I can either just kind of go on hiatus and take the time, during the day when I do have some free time to relax, or I can keep trying to like stress out to make some videos that are barely making a difference. And it was a pretty obvious choice. Hopefully in the near future my mother will be moving up, and then she can take my daughter for a bit. She loves seeing Belle, and then I can spend a few days of the week at least, working on YouTube or doing whatever. So it's not like the channel's going anywhere other than just, you know, the few live streams we do during the week, but it's just too much to balance everything at once. And being a stay-at-home parent, there's a lot to do. And then even recently, like, I'll probably be going to bed shortly after this stream because my daughter's sleeping schedule has been wacky, and when she sleeps, I have to sleep. So her bedtime is my bedtime because I have to be awake. I woke up at like midnight, and now it's what, noon. So
Yeah.
you know, that's how it is.
You know, at least, it is a thing in babies that sleep regression is a sign that they're learning new skills. So, like, she's learning stuff. That's good.
Well, it's not a sleep regression. What happened is she got really sick. Well, not really sick. She got sick in November or October or something like that. November. Well, I think she got sick twice. But the most recent one was, I think, in like early November, and she just struggled sleeping because her nose got clogged up, and babies are like predominant nose breathers. They don't want to breathe through their mouth while they're sleeping. So her sleeping schedule got super out of whack, and so we've just been kind of going around the clock because she will not go to bed early no matter what we do, but she'll sleep in a bit and she'll stay up a bit more. So when we get back to a normal sleeping schedule, then I'll make an effort to wake her up a little bit early so she doesn't keep going back, you know, around the clock.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
But we're a few hours off from that. Yesterday she went to bed at 3, but she didn't sleep that long. She slept like 3-4 hours, and then she was up, and then she was up for like 4 hours, and she didn't have like a proper sleep. So I don't know what today's gonna look like at all. We're just gonna find out.
What else can you do,
ma'am? But what about you, Alex? How's 2025 been for you and your channel?
It's been like a degree of growth that I'm like, damn, I was not fully expecting, I guess, this. Cause like I got to 20K, I don't know, like I think a week ago. And I did make a post that was like I'm not a person who's super metric brained. Like I don't, if I'm generating some hype, some hubbub about things I like, and it's giving me at least like a bit of cash that's making the time investment super worth it. It's like, all right, sick. It's like I'm not rolling the bank, but it is making some bills slightly easier to pay, so that's pretty good. And the part that gets me still is the fact that like it's funny in my head of like, all right, yeah, I guess 20,000 people clicked the button because they were interested in like the stuff I'm making. That's crazy. I'll keep doing it, and I got a fun thing going on, at least like on Saturday. I put it out. It's members only right now until like Saturday morning, but it's a giant compilation of every clan video I made. And it's 4 hours and like 40 minutes long. It's like, god damn.
Yeah.
It's the culmination of like 2 years, and it's like in chronological order, so you see me get better, or i.e. The audio quality get better for 2 years. That part to me is kind of crazy.
Yeah, funny enough, for me this year, the biggest thing for me has not been anything on my channel. Like, Cosmere released this year, which is so great. It feels like forever ago now. But Cosmere released this year. And that was great. A lot of people are still wanting more Cosmere videos. I'm sorry. There's people who still want my Fabula Ultima videos. And there's people who still want my Lancer videos. I got a lot of series I need to get back to when I get the chance. And there were some kind of cool things. I got to, like, I'm on the Brotherwise channel with, like, their premiere one-shot. And I got to work with some interesting people. And we had some of them here on the channel to talk about some Cosmere stuff and TTRPG stuff. But one thing I did notice this year, more especially, and something that's made me very excited, There's actually a growing number of TTRPG channels that I like and watch regularly, which has been new. That's never been a thing I've really done up until this year.
Hmm.
And that's mostly because there's just a lot more channels that are talking about some of the philosophies of tabletop and aren't just trying to tell you how to play D&D.
Which is good. We need that.
There's What is Tabletop? That's been one of my most favorites this year. They talk a lot of fun things. We had Frank here on the channel a few months back. Start being Popeyes and some pepper and down the wrong pipe. But their channel's been doing really good. Another channel I've been noticing more and more is Cozy RPG Reviews, where they review a lot of mostly like more on the rules light, narrative heavy type games, but they cover a lot of very like interesting indie games, and they're a big fan of Fabula Ultima. It's like their favorite game, so that's been a really fun one to watch as well.
Just from like looking at their channel, I like the vibe of it. I think it's a really fun because I've seen some channels that have this way, like this style of talking about RPGs. One of them I have no clue who he is the one where I keep thinking of it's like this genuinely really sick sounding like Conan the Barbarian style dark fantasy game.
Hmm.
Where the part I like about it and I think is really cool is it's if your group is super into like just doing it this way, its system of creating the world and like what the plot might be for like the upcoming game you're doing is really fun. Because it's really built to be a collaborative world building, so you guys are playing in the a world you all find interesting.
Yeah, there's been quite a few games like that. I've been
Yeah,
seeing around lately too.
it's one of those bits where I look at it because I'm like, I would rather a game just give me I think a cool setting, uh, but with how it was set up, it was one of those moments of like, oh, okay, this is actually just a really cool thing for exactly what it's trying to do.
I think an interesting thing for me as well has been because I've been seeing more variety tabletop channels. YouTube has been bringing me more variety tabletop channels. And it's funny to me because it's always such a massive swing between I like what this guy does and I don't agree with this person in the slightest.
Yeah.
Like even today I just watched a guy who is reviewing Shadow Dark, which has been on the rise. It's been very huge in the OSR area. And I was watching it and it was very early on in his like review of it. I'm like, I don't think I would enjoy playing with this person at all. He did bring some interesting things to the table, but he's of the group of people who played D&D a long time ago and never kind of gave that up, and so anything newer like rubs them the wrong way.
Yeah, it's a very specific mentality. That's like a very nerd centric mentality because I mean that's just where I see it the most, and I can't stand it because it is the people who will get into a thing, and then they will hate every single thing that comes after their entry point.
Yeah,
Where that all is bad, and then like you'll talk to a person who's the same way, just their entry point was 10 years earlier, so it's all bad before Warhammer has this problem.
yeah.
Like a lot where it's just no, like
My edition
change
was
is
way
good.
better.
Like, you can't be out here saying all the retcons and changes are good while your favorite faction is the Necrons, and you joined after the massive the Necron retcon that changed their whole lore. So, like, be consistent. Uh, I get that now with there's still people coming into my vampire videos every once in a while, because I think
Yeah.
my videos are good to dissuade some of it. Because I made a video on the Salubri, and a lot of people are talking about the Salubri like they're a brand new edition only for 5th edition Vampire, when that's not true. Because they've been here the whole time. It's just like this is the most playable. Or they're all playable, but it's like now they're a full on clan considered, and people are
Hmm.
talking about it like it's a new edition. Or how the theme of them, which is all about getting enlightened and reaching like humanity 10 basically, that's a large theme. They're talking about like, oh, they made the good guy faction. Oh, it's so bad. It's like this has been in the game since 1st edition. Like this whole idea of vampires reaching enlightenment and like the futile attempt of doing that. And then I was discussing it with a person in my comments specifically, where they're like, it is not a main concept of vampires, humanity. And I was like, yes, it is. Here are quotes from 1st edition. Like,
Yeah.
please just read. Or I had another person that was like talking about how they're gonna be so happy when Paradox sells White Wolf, and like White Wolf can burn 5th edition to the ground. And I just had to inform them, hey bud, just so you know, White Wolf is its own company. They have their name back again. Paradox doesn't own them. They just publish the stuff. Like, they can write what they want, and they got even more freedom to do so last year. But like, the Paradox isn't the one doing this.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. People who are it's the mentality I hate, which is people are saying that like, such and such should have never been added to the game. It's just ruining it. It should be taken out. And then the thing they're talking about has been around since the beginning of the game's existence.
Yeah.
It's like oh, so you just want less choice because you don't understand how you can make this aesthetic work. Like, that's what you're saying.
You know what? A similar type of thing to that is the sheer amount of Critical Role hate, like anything Critical Role touches. Because I was watching another one of these channels of another guy who was like giving his review of Daggerheart, and he just didn't like it. And another type of person was like, I don't think I'd like to play with this person. He made being a tabletop player being a tabletop enjoyer a very pompous thing, and he mentioned like art in a very restrictive way during the video. But it has been one of his most viewed videos, and he's like, oh man, thank you guys. I know you guys care about this game I'm making and all this kind of stuff. I got so much support on that Critical Role video, or the Daggerheart video. And of course, that was going to be like the most viewed video he's going to have for a while. Because the thing is, and it like the same thing happened with Destructiboy, was if you just shit on Critical Role, a ton of people will come and watch your video and be like, oh yeah, someone who gets it, and pat you on the back and give you some of the most views you've ever gotten. And that's it. It's not because your video is good. It's because you shit on Critical Role, or you at least disliked it, and a bunch of people just cling to that because there's a massive group of the TTRPG sphere who just think that Critical Role is ruining tabletop, and
Yeah.
do nothing but like lurk around on the internet to jump anyone who likes Critical Role.
Because like I like Critical Role as a concept because I like all the people involved in it, but I don't watch it because it's long as shit. I have a lot of other things I watch, and I don't like actual plays unless they're like super edited or comedy, because I think listening to tabletop games be actually played is boring as hell, and I don't want to deal with that. But like that specific mentality, that's very they're ruining it. Like, I've seen a lot of discussion on it because the talk is like they're ruining tabletop games because they got a bunch of new people into it, and these young fans are the whole like, let me make my little glorbos, or very like Tumblr core, or making
Yeah.
the game soft, where it's funny to me only in the idea of oh wow, yeah, your game is being turned soft because these other people exist.
Yeah.
I think is very goofy because like you can have your complaints of like I'm not as into the new D&D aesthetic, which like I'm not. I prefer dark fantasy. Uh, but that doesn't mean I'm forced to play it that way because like there was the big controversy, the stupid one of like D&D put out an art thing that was like a nice, colorful, very pastel style, like art piece. There was a gay couple in front. Like it was super like there's goblins and like all these other monster races hanging out there
Yeah, I
too.
remember.
And it was just my takeaway was the idea of making fun of it to oh guys, you don't understand, Hasbro is kicking my door in, gun to my head, trying to make my homebrew setting this, they're trying to wokeify me, this is so serious, you guys, because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like they're talking about, like, well, I guess I have to play like this now.
Yeah.
And
Or
I don't
they're
know.
upset that people they may play with in the future will be this way. And it's
I think caring about something another human being who you could like just fully never meet, never talk to, in the comfort of their own home, or the idea of someone doing something the way you don't prefer makes you actually annoyed or upset, I think you're a fucking loser. Like that is, it's so lame to actually care about how people play a tabletop game, like at their own home. I could be like, man, you're playing Pathfinder wrong, but no skin off my nose. I don't give a shit. If you guys are having fun, go crazy. Just don't pretend that you're like, just all you have to say is like, just don't pretend that you're the ambassador for Paizo and you know exactly the game if you've changed it this much.
yeah.
If you've somehow turned Pathfinder 2 into a rules light game, it's like I'm not gonna play that game, but I'm happy for you, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, right? It's one of the reasons why last time we chatted, I was talking about we really need like a stronger sense of genres in TTRPGs. Because the better there are divisions between some games, I feel like the less general hatred that will come out. There still will be. That won't go away. But it's more just like
No, never.
you don't see, FPS players complaining about all the FIFA games.
Yeah, we get. Sadly, we have the other type of person where they only play like the first-person shooter or like the big sport games, and then they get upset at like RPGs existing and being popular, or act like they're that's just what you always get. You get the person who pretends that they're an aficionado of a entire medium, and then it's like, okay, so you only engage with one tiny thing, and if it leaves your scope, you hate it. Film has a similar thing.
Yeah. And it's one of the things where it's just like there's like all these people who are in the OSR crowd who are just like, oh, look at this new game that's like D&D 5e whatever, and like I hate D&D 5e clones, don't get me wrong, but they hate it for very different reasons. I hate it because I want better and more interesting games to come out. They hate it because they're like, oh, more furry propaganda. Look at this game where you get to play animals. That's the worst thing ever. This is just turning into a game for furries or something else. They'll have, they'll look at thirsty sword lesbians and be like, oh, look, they're turning D&D gay because this game exists. And it's like, I mean, if you were to make a product orientated towards a certain crowd of people, isn't that fine? Like, not every game is incorporating this, obviously. So it
Yeah,
existing is just more of a novelty than anything.
it's a weird cross opinion that is strange where you see some people complain about like everything is so generalized, like the problem a lot of people point at for things like D&D or even like Warhammer to some extent and like all these other big fields is the moment they become too popular and they start appealing to the general audience, the thing you enjoy gets toned down, altered and changed to sell as much to everybody. And that is just that is a staple of just capitalism. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
If something is going to generate money, they got to generate the most money. That's how you upkeep. And like that's just a product of capitalism, not not the fault of people enjoying something. But so then they're like, keep things niche for like a specific audience. Don't try to appeal to everyone. And then you make a product that is niche and doesn't appeal to everyone, and then they get mad about that because it's
Yeah.
not appealing to them. It's like, so what do you
Yep.
want, bro?
Yep. And it's like, you know, if this game is really like just trying to draw all those people to it, isn't that better for you? Then you don't have to play with the kind of weird people you don't like. Like, it's so backwards logic. And
I cannot help but think whenever that complaint comes up, it feels like they're doing that thing of like, oh god, like I would hate to do this. Like, God, don't dare me to play this game right now, guys. I would hate to play it. Fine, I'll buy the book. Fine, we can try it out Thursday. I'm gonna hate it the whole time. It sounds like you want me to like make you play the game, like, or you're acting like someone is forcing you to touch this thing when you can just be like, I don't know, I prefer this. Like, sure, if the one that keeps popping up on my channel is like, yeah, if you don't like Vampire 5th edition, I think a lot of the reasons people say they don't like 5e Vampire is opinions that were given to them by a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Rather than like their actual thoughts on the game. But like 20th exists. Revised and Vampire 20th both exist as editions, and crazy concept. Both editions have more content than 5th edition Vampire. So like you have more things to play with if you decide to play with 20th anniversary, my favorite edition of Vampire. Like, so just do that. Like, who cares? Who cares if it's not the new thing? You're fine.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is it's more that it's just people hating that other people like their thing, or people they don't want to like their thing. And it's such
you don't like the thing the way I like it.
It's just a possessiveness of something, and this prevails. And to be fair, I've been kind of guilty of this myself, and I've been trying to tone that back. But you can tell someone who cares too much about tabletop whenever they make a video or they talk about it, they talk about having done it for 20, 30 years. And it comes up a lot. And it's like, because playing for 20, 30 years, I guess, makes you a master in the entire genre of TTRPGs, even though you only play like D&D 3.5, you know?
Yeah, like, because it's at least good in the way of it shows the experience, and like you've seen the things that can occur in a real game, so it builds that level of experience of like a lot of personal in the field experience of, I can point at some things in games that wouldn't be great because I've had to deal with it over 20 years. But at the end of the day, it is a rhetorical device to show that you are an authority on something.
Yeah. And
it's the same way of like, I've been into this thing from the start.
And to be fair, right, one of the harsh truths of internet anything is it's more about the vibe than anything else. And so even I've been really considering like playing up the idea of projecting the idea that what I'm saying is right and is good and all that kind of stuff, like having that utter confidence in what I'm saying and doing, to project the idea without kind of the habits I have of like counterpointing myself or whatever. Because at the end of the day, that's what a lot of people are there for. A lot of people who participate in some hobbies are there more for the vibe than anything, and nothing more serious. That's why you get nonsense comments down, when people are talking about things where they just say something that's just wrong or just so out of left field. And you're like, why are you like this? What makes you think this way? And it's just because they're following a vibe that, that doesn't require as much logic as we should probably have in things in general. And it's not like I'm planning on becoming like a YouTube fuckboy for it. It's more just like, it's more about just projecting a presence about the presentation. And there's a lot of good channels that do this in a very good way. Markiplier does it in a really good way where, he has his bravado, but it's not like necessarily arrogant. Matt Pat always presented in a very like, he felt like someone who was very knowledgeable whenever he was making his videos for game theory and everything like that. Saberspark does it for cartoon reviews and all that kind of stuff, anime movie reviews. It's just about presenting an image of strength, and so that's what a lot of these channels are doing. It's just, it's a practiced art. And while a lot of these people have been playing D&D for 20 years, they definitely haven't been making YouTube for that long. So,
And like sometimes you can tell because like there is a genre with like a lot of other channels. It's the ones that I happen to get this channel more often than not. I don't even watch it. I don't understand why. But I get a lot of channels that are like the dude who's like, I've been playing tabletop for 30 years, and then you open it and it's like the most basic, boring video. Like the presentation style isn't good. The information is like okay, like it's fine, it's solid, but it's no understanding of how to like deliver information and like actually teach, because that is a skill. It is a skill to be able to communicate subjects and actually teach somebody something. There are a lot of techniques you can find that help with that. More that it was something I was surprised on in just doing my own YouTube stuff of like, oh yeah, I am literally teaching, so like I should pay attention to how good educators talk and like deliver their ideas. The one thing I'm bad at is sometimes I ramble a little too much, or like I loop around on a subject and I repeat myself, which isn't great. Because in my head when I'm talking, I feel like I haven't explained something great, the best. It's something I've been like keeping attentive and trying to fix up in myself. But like it is a skill. It's a skill you got to actually try and do. And there's a lot of people on YouTube I don't think who have that, and then other people who are really good at the confident part. Because oh my god, the amount of like podcast or even like fake podcast setups people make videos on to act like they're an authority on something is very annoying and very dumb.
Yeah, and like one of the things I really dislike, because it's so true and it hurts, is the persona of person who loves tabletop so much that now they're making videos on it and they're also working on a game. Because me too. So fuck, it's just true. Everyone's making their own game, and it sucks because I'm getting tired of hearing it all the time, just every channel.
You can just assume that if they're running a tabletop channel, they probably are making a game.
Yeah,
it's at that stage,
and it's true because I'm doing it too. So to be fair, now's a really good time for that, because I think D&D has been shooken up so much that the indie scene is really starting to expand, and this has been a really good year for it. So go for it. It's not that it's a bad thing, it's just I'm tired of hearing it. It's like hearing the top 10 hits on the radio 5 times a day. Like, they're good songs, but fuck, do I not want to hear it 30 times in a day?
Yeah, and like it is one of those bits, because zero shade to anyone working on a game.
Yeah.
And like I can also say that in your case because you've put more stuff, granted, in our personal sphere, but the amount of times I've heard, hey guys, I'm working on a game, and then you see literally nothing about it, like it's just an update that keeps happening, because I can probably count on one hand the amount of tabletop channels that have put out like stuff on their game.
Yeah,
but then like everyone's working on one. We did a full ass like mini campaign of one of your games. It's got 2 in the works. Same engine, but like different setting and style.
Yeah, and it's something I want to touch back on again in the future, because I definitely have been coming up with some good things and refining some parts of it. And but anyway, it's been a fascinating year in general for tabletop. I think this has been, I don't want to say one of the best years for tabletop, because that's just factually not true. But it's more of like, this is one of the years where I feel like tabletop took a turn for the better, and it feels very good. Like, D&D's shakeup has had profound effects, and the number of people who are getting into Daggerheart is really good, and there's just a lot of games that are being talked about more, and I'm happy to see that there's Daggerheart channels that are coming up, and a lot of people are starting to talk about Daggerheart, and it's good because they're not just playing D&D 5e. You know, like we're fragmenting the larger TTRPG base into smaller groups, which is good for the hobby in general, because now people are going to be looking at other games on their feeds, which is just good.
It is a good thing, and it'll always be, in my opinion, of like, it is a good thing when your medium, your field's getting better. It's growing. It's bringing new people in. I'm always excited at the idea of like something I enjoy is growing, because it's like sick. Now there's gonna be more fans of it out and about. That's a good thing. So like it's fun to see. I really enjoy, like, this year for tabletop has been sick. Not, and like, maybe when I look at every game that's come out, I'm not like a big fan of like all of them. I'm happy that like big projects are happening though. And I'm happy that they're different and people are trying new things. Because that is the reality of tabletop we want. We want that reality of like variety games. And people play. It's a lot more focused on playing a game to suit the story and the type of playstyle you want, rather than fitting one game to be every single genre niche.
Well, one game that's honestly even not that well designed.
That's the kicker. Like, I honestly, if for whatever reason, for in this parallel universe, 5th edition tabletop, 5th edition D&D is really good, I would still be annoyed. I'd still be annoyed. I'd be more happy at the idea of like, oh, cool, 5th edition's good. But I'd be annoyed at the idea of like, guys, there is like a cyberpunk game. Why don't we play cyberpunk instead of turning D&D cyberpunk or turning it sci-fi? Because, like, sure, the engine is good, the game is good, but there's a lot of things you can't do if your engine is a one-size-fits-all.
Well, and some of the best TTRPGs have unique engines for their particular setting and design, and those are fun. And while some of them tend to be more novel than anything, I don't think I would be a person who would love to play only one TTRPG forever.
Yeah, like I think you miss out of a lot. And when, like, sure, you can gain something from the fact of like, oh man, I can be super versatile. This system I have complete mastery of. I can tell any type of story. Like, sick, cool, that's fun. The bit that I don't think is as fun is like, because tabletop gameplay, a lot of the time, dice rolling is not taken into account of this. Because like the style you roll dice in can do really good wonders in picking the type of game you're in and like expressing the game feel. Because I think there's a lot of cool games that if you want to express, things are pretty crazy and powerful and like everything's getting added up. I think you can have a good dice pool system that makes it feel significant when you're rolling like a 12d6 dice pool. Or Vampire does a really good job, I think, at hitting how the skills interact, how like the things you're good at, you're really good at, and making a lot of desperate moments because of how they handle crits in that game. Like, there are elements of that type of dice style and how you're doing it that express what the game you're in. And if every single type of game was the exact same D20 style, we'd be losing a lot.
Yeah. So, you know, it's good, and I'm excited to see all the different ideas. I've been watching a Daggerheart channel. It's like something bonus action is the name of the channel. But he brought up a really interesting point. Daggerheart's combat is just the same as every other mode of play. You approach it in the same way. Everyone has been having issues with Daggerheart's combat because it's so different than like D&D, for instance. It's so unregimented. But it's funny because what Daggerheart did instead is, rather than making combat a whole different thing, it's just another part of the game. It's another aspect of the overall narrative. So when you do combat just like you do non-combat in any other TTRPG.
Yeah, it's a it's an interesting thing with that response I see from Daggerheart a lot, because the one I've seen too in that same lens is people doing the well, with how this is orchestrated, these players can take advantage of it like this, and do a lot of, when it's like, that's not how the game is actually played though, not at all. Because like Daggerheart is not a game where I'm like jumping at the bit to try and play, because the gameplay of it and like all of it doesn't seem the most interesting to me. I like that they're doing something different, and that's really cool. So I always love just different styles. And I think the concept of like the game all works roughly the same way. Combat is a type of play instead of, the game is a combat game with roleplay stuff tacked onto it, which is how a lot of other tabletop games feel.
Yeah.
You can express a lot more, and also it builds you up to having more things to give the players. You can have more tools that are not combat related. It's like, I love Pathfinder, but that's a combat sim with other shit tacked on.
Yeah.
Combat sims are really fun, but that's, what if the actual narrative play could have as much mechanical depth as the combat in Pathfinder? That's what the fun of it can be.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And that was a very interesting thing, because I was talking to Devin and Booter, and we were going over like our top 5 TTRPGs and like our bottom 5 TTRPGs, and both of them said the favorite TTRPGs they placed the 333 My Game in their top 5. And
yeah,
I think a big part of that is due to the talent system of, when you get when you increase in a skill, you get a talent that adjusts how you use that skill or gives you special bonuses in it. Makes it where it feels like the system of the 333 feels like combat and non-combat are equally weighted.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you develop your character in non-combat ways, you're going to feel the same amount of impact in your gameplay as you do for combat stuff. And that was a very interesting thing for me to hear, because that's not what I was expecting, and I don't even think I would put my game in my top 5.
If I extended it out to a top 10, or more real, if I had a top 7, I would say I'd put the 333 on it. And largely it's because, like, of course I have to include Mage and Vampire, because I do genuinely love those tabletop games. I like them a lot. I think they're really, really sick if you go into it with the intention of playing, like, specifically, I am playing a Vampire the Masquerade game.
Yeah.
That's the weakness of those games, is, like, you have to go in being, like, I'm in the world of darkness, I'm in this, I'm telling this type of story. Because I think it does a great job mechanically for doing the things it does, and the older editions have my favorite type of tabletop design, which is giving you a fuck ton of tools. So many things for your game, like as a GM or as a player, and like 50% of it's optional. It's all optional opt-in rules for your game. Yeah. I love that. The 333 is on that top 10 because of that talent system. I think the talent system is really cool, and having the powers be so varied and like really alter how you engage with a problem, I think is a super sick element of it. It'd be fun to play around with those abilities, especially, that's the first thing, if you get the time again, you like chug through and you make a core book down the line, the first thing I'm doing is pouring through what are all the powers.
Right. Yeah, and that's something that I've been observing carefully, and I've been monitoring how I feel about like how it's currently done, because I had it a lot more regimented, which I think is good to some degree. Like, some of the powers are a bit more loosey-goosey, and that needs to be tightened up a little bit, but some part of me as well kind of wants to do more narrative leaning aspects to it because
I'll be honest. I'll be honest with this. You might not like this comparison at all, but it might help. The one of the things I absolutely adore about the 333's powers and how they operate is it's very JoJo.
Yeah.
In
No, I
that
agree.
aspect, yeah, good. Because in that aspect of you hear a power and you're like, huh? What the fuck does that mean? Like, my power is I have a fishing pole, and I can sense where people are with their heartbeat and their breath, and it's like, oh, fuck, okay, huh? And then in that specific example, fucking Prosciutto is one of the sickest motherfuckers ever. Like, his fight is so awesome. It works really well. He pairs it with a power you wouldn't expect to work well. Of like, yeah, sure. Then his best buddy, he has a power of he makes everyone old based on body temp.
Yeah.
And it's like, why in the world would those two powers be good together? And then you see it in action, you're like, okay. And the characters all utilize their ability. Like, my ability is that I can turn a non-living thing into a living thing. That is my power. And you're like, okay, fuck. And then you see the coolest methods of using it. My power is magnetism. I can fully affect anything magnetic and metal. And then it's like, cool, so you're Magneto. I'm gonna turn the iron in your blood into razor blades and stab you. And as you're fighting, you are going through like toxicity. The iron leaving your blood is slowly killing you. It's like, fucking okay, hell yeah. It's creative uses of powers you wouldn't expect. And I think leaning into that aspect for the 333 will make it a stronger game.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I want to lean more narrative. Not like completely. I want to give some like handlebars so that you can drive it, but it's more like with powers that are based on concepts, especially because they're not like rigid concepts, they change and evolve over time. Just being like, okay, you can use your power how you think you can in the system. Here's some rough guidelines. Go at it. Like, I liked Booter's... I liked how Booter was thinking about using his power of secrets and, like, hiding his evidence of whatever he was doing for things.
Yeah.
It created some very interesting scenarios. It also created some problems, and that's definitely, like, something that needed a little bit more, like, direction and a little bit more guardrails. But, like, it's... The thing with the setting in general is you're dealing with like eldritch powers that work on the ideas of concepts and stuff. Like, the human mind is not as regimented or systematic of a thing as everyone would like to think it is, and thus powers based on that should probably be a little weird.
Yeah. So
definitely something to consider. But yeah, it's really interesting, and like, I've been really thinking about it because I came up to the epiphany of like narrative contextual play, where it's not just about what you do, but how you describe what you're doing that can change how the scene works, how things happen. It's important to add context to things. And now that I've been like retroactively thinking about all the games before that we could have been using that, I'm like, oh man, Pathfinder might actually be a lot more interesting now if contextual play was more used. You know, then it could be done more than just a battle sim. You know? And so it's been kind of bouncing around in my head whether I like Anima as my top TTRPG or if I like Pathfinder 2e as my top TTRPG. And I think Anima is my favorite, but only because Anima is like a messy toolbox. Everything you need is there. It's just about finding it. And sometimes it's a bit of a pain in the ass to get everything together that you need. Where Pathfinder 2e is just such a clean, running, smooth machine. And it gives you a lot of options. There's a lot of interesting styles of play. One of the reasons why I've been bouncing back between the two is I love Anima. But in Anima, I can't play necessarily like an inventor going into like thaumaturgy to be an occult artificer, you know, which is a really cool idea. But Anima doesn't have that many systems. Like, there are a good number, but because they're all so big and varied, they lack the ability to create like certain types of play. Like, being an artificer in Anima is just not a thing, really.
Yeah, it's a different type of setting in that aspect. But actually, I find that really interesting because there are places in the Anima's world that are tech developing.
Yeah.
Like, have some good shit, and you can't really do that. I'm surprised that that's not a thing.
Well, you can make magic items, but that's kind of like a downtime activity. It's not like I'm playing as an artificer in combat, let me use my artificer powers.
Yeah.
You would be like, I made a magic item and I'm now using a magic item. And that's just not as interesting in the same way, at least. And similarly, like in Pathfinder, you can be a gunslinger and you have gameplay that leans into being a gunslinger. In Anima, you can use a gun, but using your gun is gonna play can play just as similarly as using a bow, because of how the key system works.
Yeah, like I played a gunslinger without picking up a real gun. Like it's just how you flavor everything and paint it all. Like, but it is the aspect I like about when I look at a tabletop game, where I think if you have a game and you think about it and you make some characters, you make some builds, I think it is a positive thing if one of your takeaways is I could not make this in any other game.
Yeah.
Because I think that means you got a really strong identity for what you have. Like, I am very excited for my upcoming boy, Dr. Benjamin Hawthorne. I'm really excited for him. I think the type of game we're doing with Anima and it being a long game builds up what I want him to be. I like the idea of him being a slow burn horror protagonist. To the point where, like, I have no clue, and I doubt you're going to do this. Like, I think his character would become weaker if, say, for example, his curse came up, like, every scene. I think that'd be boring. Because I think it's an interesting character thing to where he is constantly trying to be proactive, and when the eye pops up and starts draining my life points at 5 a second, it's like, oh fuck, this is what we've been training for. Oh no.
Yeah.
It is fun to preemptively go through everything and be like, because I think it's such a tiny character detail that's fun. Of like, he's in a room, he's talking, he's trying to be suave, but there's a doll on a shelf. And so he has to like really casually walk up as he's talking, like maybe he picks up the doll and examines it, but he puts it down the wrong way.
Right.
Or like he does some very minor thing like that. Or maybe there's a painting in this nice office and like he can't do it, but happens to be like there are 2 pillars in the office. So he just happens to lean up against one of the pillars, so now he's out of line of sight of it. Like those tiny little details I think make him an interesting character. And I don't know how much we could have done that in like Pathfinder. Also, how much we could have done in Pathfinder where I'm making like a cosmic martial artist that a lot of the abilities I keep thinking of, I'm like, this is very wizard-esque, but he's not a wizard. He's like a fake wizard but he punches you in the face really hard.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, like in Anima, there's a lot that it can do that's super unique and super, like, for instance, there's psychics exist in Pathfinder 2e, and I think they're terrible psychics. I think psychics in Anima are way, way better and more interesting.
I so agree. Like, I think the psychics in Pathfinder are interesting. Like, I think it is a fun way to take a caster, but I wouldn't want to play one because Anima's psychic system is just so good.
Well, it's not only that. Pathfinder 2e psychic feels more like someone took their magic casting systems and contorted it into the shape of a psychic, where Anima made a psychic system for psychics. So
yeah, it's like a realistic way that I think a game would handle making a psychic, because it is I think the concept of taking a caster and make them really cantrip reliant. It's the same thing about warlocks in D&D.
Yeah.
But the difference I think is that to make it so they're being really cantrip heavy, and now having a lot of routes to modify what their cantrips do, I think is a better answer than what Warlock does. It is a good version of a cantrip centered caster, but that is what it is at the end of the day. It doesn't stop being a cantrip centric caster just because you call it a psychic.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, like I think Psychic is good in Pathfinder, don't get me wrong. I just don't like it when I'm trying to play a Psychic. You know.
The game it does not scream Psychic when I'm playing. When I'm looking and trying to make a character that for Pathfinder as a Psychic, it is one in name, but it feels like unless I really heavily take my own undertaking, I have to make it look like psionics.
Yeah. And if they named it some other thing, if they named it like Arcanist or something like that, then no one would know the difference, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just, you know, the Pathfinder is such a well-designed game, and I think that's to its strengths, but that is a weakness in some regard to some of the things that Paizo tries to do with it. Some of the classes they try to make are more just adaptations of their current systems rather than like true iterations of what they think that class should be. So, you know, it's like I don't like druids because druids don't feel that unique compared to some of the other casters. Their biggest unique features are like their shaping for one of their paths and the fact that they're a caster that has animal companions in their feat list like natively. But that's about it. Where like wizard feels like you can do some of the wizard subclasses feel very interesting and very good, and even sorcerer, which I don't like sorcerer that much, but still sorcerer feels even more unique than druid does sometimes. So, and witch is honestly of the casters probably one of the most interesting ones in my opinion, especially after the changes and they made familiars just better in general. So
yeah.
But yeah, so Anima's Jump is my number one TTRPG for now.
I feel the same.
Because I feel like there's only certain stories that we can tell because it's Anima. Where like Pathfinder is my second favorite game, and it's only because it's mechanically probably one of the most satisfying games on the market for me to play. But I don't feel like a story I could tell in Pathfinder necessarily would be that different than one in D&D. The only differences would be that Pathfinder has some better mechanics for their classes that can better live out those fantasies than D&D ever could.
Like, we could have a very sick, very fun, long-form Pathfinder game where, like, the story rules, it's a fun, slow burn, like, good, long roleplay game. And then it's broken up. Not even broken up, but, like, we're playing it, and then we also get really satisfying mechanical combat.
Yeah.
It is just that thing of, because it's that kitchen sink Western fantasy, so there are stories that you're not getting anything extra by picking Pathfinder. It's more like if I wanted to play a game that is the traditional adventurers in the world making a name for themselves, solving a crisis, beating big bads, like doing that. Pathfinder's the one I'd do it in. Because I think it's the best at doing it. Which on its own is great, because then comparatively, if I wanted to play the best, like, pure urban fantasy, then, like, okay, like, let me do a sick urban fantasy game. I'm gonna go to one of the World of Darkness games, because I think on the market they're probably like the best modern urban fantasy supernatural style game. Because the only other two I'm aware of are both very rules light, kind of not as fun games.
Yeah.
And like that's at least a benefit for it. If Starfinder's gonna be like, if I want to tell a basic kitchen sink sci-fi setting game, if this is just the best option, that's good. It is that level of I could not think of anything super special or unique of a story we could tell with Pathfinder 2e, but we could tell a super sick story with it.
Yeah. And then for me, third place becomes very difficult to place for my top 5 because I really, really, really like Fabula Ultima's character design and like how they build characters and all that kind of stuff. But so many other parts of the system are so weak, and the fact that you don't get skills, so you just gotta hope that your +2 that you get from your various titles or whatever is enough to get you your success. Kind of sucks. And then Lancer is in a similar boat, but for very different reasons. Where Lancer's like, I love the mech rules. I love building mechs, and like I would love to play a more intense Lancer game, but the pilot rules are so bland and not there that playing as a pilot just feels like watching a cutscene between gameplay elements, you know. And a lot of people are like, that's the good thing about Lancer. It just focuses on the thing that you care about most, being a mech pilot, you know, and your mech. That's the thing you care about, being a mech pilot. And will I kind of agree? I don't view tabletop as just a video game to play with cutscenes. So I want the non-interesting combat stuff to still have mechanically interesting things when I'm playing my pilot. Like, I want to feel like my pilot is just as much of a character as my mech, you know. So those two are games I find some of the most fun, but just have elements in them that kind of make it hard for me. And then I love Cosmere, and I think when Mistborn comes out next year, end of next year, Cosmere will firmly set itself in my third spot. I'm feeling pretty confident in that.
The stuff we've heard, at least for Allomancy, is very, very good. I'm hoping for some working updates, because like I think Cosmere is really sick. Sadly, it is not in my immediate top 5. But like it'd be on my top 10, because like just completely off top of the dome. The only ones that are in order are the first 2. No, first 3. First 3 are in order. Everything else is kind of out and about. It's Anima Beyond Fantasy, Pathfinder 2nd Edition, the Fantasy Flight Star Wars, Vampire the Masquerade 20th Anniversary, then Mage the Ascension 20th Anniversary, 333, Cosmere, Lancer, and then I don't know, 1 or 2 other. I don't remember exactly. I don't have an exact thing, but
it's hard to do a whole 10, to be fair.
Yeah, like I at least am happy that I have that much, but Fabula Ultima is not a game that I would put on my favorites. I think it's fun. I think we can do fun stuff with it, but like it doesn't immediately jump out to me as crazy or like anything super interesting. And like while that's not a deal breaker for me with Lancer for the pilot rules, the only time it'd be a deal breaker is I'd be less interested doing a campaign that's like, let's show up each day and do a mission. I'd be like, that's fun, sure, but I'd be less interested. And like the selling point to me would be, can the GM tell a really good story and like keep everything rolling really interestingly? Because I can look past really boring pilot rules if the game itself is good. That's gonna be the selling point. Other than that, then like if we're not doing that, then let's keep it video gamey and have it be just mission sorties. Because that part, the tactical combat is just that good.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem with Lancer. That's why I have a hard time putting it on my list, is just because it feels to me like a really fun board game more than it feels like a fun TTRPG.
Yeah. And like I love the world of Lancer. I really like I think the lore that is in Lancer is really cool. And because as someone who looks at a lot of sci-fi, like Lancer has just one of the cooler setups. I think it is a good showing of how you can make a like non-grimdark gritty setting, but have it not feel like, you know, there's zero stakes in the universe and like nothing matters. I like the specific intent they had of making Union a good faction. Like they are a good source of people and they're trying to do good, and the utopia they promise is a legitimate utopia. And the struggle with their empire building is logistics and just how big space is. I think is a really interesting thing to play with. And the other factions they build up are interesting too. The Karakin trade baronies are really fun. It's just Dune houses.
Yeah.
But
I
like
need to get that book and
look
into it, because I've heard some really good things about the Karakin trade baronies book.
It's cool, and like a lot of those, like the sickest mechs are because of those corps doing business with the Karakin trade baronies. Like very specifically, I think the kobold was a revolutionary frame for an area fighting against the trade baronies. Like things like that. Like there, a bunch of mechs come from that set of lore. It's a fun setup. It's really interesting, and I like the idea of playing in that world. But if for whatever reason the game was instead we play in that world, we do Starfinder and then Lancer and meld two games, I think it'd be even cooler, because then all parts for me are satisfied. But like, because I can always look past the game system itself and the character system being like not as up to snuff, because my priority in the moment is my character and role playing it. Like as long as I can role play the character and the overall like party dynamic in game is well ran, then I'm happy. Which is what got me with Monster of the Week. I think our campaign was sick as hell, but Monster of the Week as a game is not something I really care to play again. But I loved our game. That's just because our entire like full party dynamic was just really good.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's the annoying thing when it comes to TTRPGs in general. So many people out there have such strong opinions about TTRPGs in general, because they had a really good experience with a game, or they're having a really good experience with a game, and so they're incapable of like objectively viewing things. It's like D&D 5e players. They're like, the best games I've ever played have all been in D&D 5e. I can't say it's not the best game there is, because I've had the best games I've ever had in it. And it's like, I get what you mean for sure, but you got to be able to like take a step back and look at it as a whole. And because a good group can have fun playing any game. I mean, Legends of Adventures is playing D&D, but the experience that we know and that they're having has nothing to do with D&D whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it is an important aspect to also... It's because the reverse is true. There are people who will look at, or like, I firmly believe there's the handful of like rules light players and like GMs, people talking about it online. I think if you really interrogated some of it, it is because early on they probably had a really bad experience in like a very crunchy game. Because like there's a lot of reasons, and I do agree with the reasons why someone says I prefer rules light. I'm like, fair enough. I can pinpoint the elements of the game you like and prefer, and it doesn't feel like you're reaching this with no reason. But like, if you had a really good game, your entire group is rules and your GM rules, and it is just in like Pathfinder, like having that I think is a good experience of having a great session and great campaign in a game style you don't like and a game style you really like. And then it's important to be able to look at a system objectively and be like, yeah, this game is flawed as hell. It's got a lot of issues. Because I can say Anima Beyond Fantasy has some of my favorite campaigns I've ever played in, but Anima Beyond Fantasy is a horrific jumbled mess.
Yeah.
And is not a system I would recommend easily. There's a lot of problems. But there's a specific thing that it works in Anima. I would put on like my favorite campaigns of all time. I would put our the Monster of the Week game. I would put that on that list. Mm-hmm. I had an amazing time. Monster of the Week is a boring system.
Yeah.
But that game was really fun because I also think it's just a really strong core of us that we played. Like we all just are good playing a game together.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. And that's why like I try my best to put games in spaces like I put Anima as my number one, not just because of the nostalgia and the fact that we've had good things. It Anima does things that I wish more tabletops did. Like to freely invest points so you can actually be good at a skill at level 1 is something that irritates me to no end in other games, because it's like I'm playing a rogue in Pathfinder and I'm going to be good at picking locks, but I gotta wait until level 7 when I can be master in it, so to actually feel like I'm really good at it.
Yeah, like you can't like be a prodigy at something, or you have to wait. It is that element. Like Anima has a lot of those.
Yeah, it does.
Anima is its system mentality of let's give these things its own individual mechanics. So like you're playing with this thing, it works completely differently. It's got these things you're dealing with. Is a great philosophy for your design. However, it also is a source of a lot of the problems. Like that is,
Yeah.
there's so many issues with that. But I think tabletop games could do really well if they took that idea of let's make this system feel like this system. Because summoning has never felt as sick as it does in Anima. Psychics, it's the sickest thing ever. It makes martial classes really easy to not be boring, like from a design, because you're a martial character. What kind? What are you gonna do, buddy? How are you gonna play that character? There's like so many things you can do like that. Every system feels unique and feels like it perfectly embodies what it's trying to do. In turn, that makes the game stupidly complicated and really weird, but it's fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're dealing with multiplication a lot of the times, and uh, I mean, and one of the things that Anima does very interestingly is Anima is a very rules-heavy, crunchy game, except when it's not. And there's like the disadvantages. Some of the disadvantages are just like go ham. Damned is one of them, where it's just like, here's some examples of how you could use this disadvantage. And in Pathfinder 2E, we can't have this setup that we do in Anima, where your character is currently experiencing some kind of eldritch horror problem, where just sometimes any conceptual eye looks at you and you feel like you're dying inside. That's just not a thing that happens in Pathfinder 2e, or at least not without excessive homebrewing. But in Anima, that's just a part of the game. We made a thing that works that way. And how like Slug's character is playing a summoner, there's two different types of summoners, where there's the summoner and then there's key summoning, which is very different and uses its own unique rules, which is super cool. And how the pact that we've set up for that character is very interesting and has blended into this story of your characters moving into this campaign that, by the way, a quick shout out, we'll be starting this campaign on the 30th, so not next Tuesday but the Tuesday after. Check it out, it's gonna be a wild ride. But the type of characters that are going into it are so much more fascinating than level 1 characters could ever be in Pathfinder 2e.
It is like the preamble I gave Alicia, I think, is kind of the reason Anima sits in our hearts so strong. Of Anima is a system that I think you got to approach with I am making this concept. I have this idea, this person, this thing I want to do. And Anima rewards you with that because the character will feel so much stronger if you have made something that is so personal because of how nitty gritty everything can get
Yeah.
and how you can allocate everything. It's like no two characters, if we're like, let's have two mages in the party. Both mages, by just the nature of the person playing them and the character concepts, are going to be completely different. It's that type of game. The characters you play are so personal because you can play out exactly what you want to play. It's going to feel different. So that is a strength. And I think that's how you have to approach this game. You have to approach it like that, because if you approach it with the idea of I'm going to make a sick key build, then the game loses it, because yeah, you can do that really, really easily, by the way, and have everything set up. I'll say, for how I've built Benjamin, his starting key stuff is, I don't have any powers yet. Like, I don't have any like homemade powers. However, I have basically every single base key ability I will need in the game. Because
Yeah.
I have key control, I have key detection. I don't have erudition yet. I have the ability to conceal my key. I have use of necessary energy. I have like weight elimination. I have all the stuff that'll make my shit super easy to use. Um, so like I am set from first level to go ham. I could have gone ham, but I didn't because it wouldn't suit my character. And I'll be honest, having a technician character be a scientist is very hard.
Yeah. This...
I had to spend creation point to make it so science wasn't a skill I would be fucked up in.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is in Anima, you get to tailor make your experience, and I think that's its strength. As a game, Anima's very weak because it can be broken in some ways, and the game lets you make bad characters, which is not good. And it's kind of an intense experience making characters, which is, it's not good when the first hurdle is so big just to get into a game. And so that's why, like, I do believe Anima is not a better game than Pathfinder 2e. I think Pathfinder 2e is one of the cleanest running games of its type of in genre of like the standard adventure high fantasy, style game. But Anima is the kind of game that gives you a lot of tools, and gives you a lot of tools in a game that has blended narrative and mechanics to a degree that I just don't see in a lot of other games. I know we keep getting shouted out to things like Fate, or not Fate, Genesis, which is the same engine that the Star Wars RPG runs, which it's a good system, but it's not very rules intensive. And so most of what you make in Genesis specifically as well is just kind of like the vibe of a character rather than the mechanics of a character. Where Anima allows you to mechanically make a character that plays a specific way, plays interestingly, but also has enough open narrative elements that you can then tailor make a lot of that experience to fit your character's story and to give you something a lot more interesting and personal than I feel like a lot of other TTRPGs does. So that's why it's placed at my number one. And obviously, like, someone's own top 5 list is going to be biased by just necessity, but I'm not. I have enough wherewithal to not just like put on rose tinted glasses just to look at my favorite games and be like, these are good games. I do genuinely care about the genre, and like for a long time Anima wasn't my number one game and Pathfinder was, and it's just funny how it's kind of bounced back after all this time. And I'm interested to see how I'm going to run Anima now after all this time. That's the most interesting thing to me, because when we were doing, especially the last one shot, when you had a lot more combat and I started going through all the numbers again, oh god, the numbers, running anima is just a different animal altogether than a lot of TTRPGs. But I feel
Yeah,
very good about our session 0. I think we hammered out a lot of very good parts to start off on the best foot.
because I like this form of campaign start. Because I think it is setting up enough, like it's keeping everyone the idea of like, all right, we understand what each other's characters are, and it can be ran um, dependently of with the little tidbits we have. Because a big thing for me is it's harder for me to get into like role play as fast if like the game start is all right. You guys have been friends for years. So I'm like, I don't know this guy. I can't pretend to in like method act being this guy's friend. But the idea where we have now, where for how I've very intentionally made sure my character's set up, I have known these people like passively in passing at least a little bit, or I've known them for max like a week or two. To where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, that's really easy for me to method act of like I know these basic principles. Uh, I'm willing on the jump because I would do this anyways, but willing at the jump to travel and hang out with them. But we still can have a very slow burn, interesting thing, because just I've known a guy for 2 weeks. I'm not going to spill my deep dark secrets to them. That takes a lot more trust to build up, and I'm playing a character that right now is really dedicated to being like I am a normal man. Also, because he's famous, he's genuinely like I think a very fair worry is that he tells a bunch of strangers his secrets and then it gets immediately leaked to the press and like MTV,
Right.
for whatever the gossip rags are. And I think that's a more fun thing for him to have to deal with. If instead if he was super open of like, yeah, I've been cursed by an eldritch deity I don't know about, that's a little more boring. And I like this. I like the start. I like the characters we got so far. I think it'll be super fun. And I think it'll also be fun playing a rich man in a collapsing society.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting challenge for me because, like, unlike a lot of other games where it's funny, a lot of other TTRPG channels would be like, all right, so you got to have like an event. You got to kick your game off with the players running, You can't take it too slow or anything. And I was like, nah, we're going to go super slow at first and kind of build things out. Cuz what I want to do is one to create those organic character moments and connections, because I feel like if we lay those foundations good enough at the beginning, that will carry for a much stronger overall campaign than other games where it's just like, all right, you're all on the same job, go do the same job together. And the challenge to me is to create like an environment that slowly is going to pressure you guys to act and to act together.
Yeah, because like I think it's a fun approach to it. Because I'll admit I'm a sucker for the like party of people that are forced to travel together. But that's also because the type of characters I play are it's the reason I get so annoyed when people do it badly. Because I think I'm all right at making a character that outwardly would have zero reason to hang out with these people, but then comes to like them. And because of that, I like the inciting event thing. Like, I'll say the Unraveler plot from that old campaign we did, children's campaign of that. I love that. I love the idea of just being soul bonded to these people, like suddenly. I love our starts for we're stuck in a zombie apocalypse like city, or we were just happened to hang out at the same town, and then like a horrific ice lich basically was sending zombies at it. Like that is a sick. Those are all fun starts. The starts that basically are like, okay, we can tell we're the most competent people in the room, so we should act. I think is always a fun start because you build a lot of like immediate camaraderie of people going through the same traumatic events.
And I think even this style game can still have that. It just comes later than just the very start. Sometime after, like once everyone is close enough together where you can kind of have that inciting event that then ties everything together nice and tight and moves forward. It's just when I think of good narratives, good stories, and everything like that, I I struggle when the characters are always on the move to really get a grasp of like the setting and the world as much, because it's like Lord of the Rings, right? I know there's a lot of lore and a lot of interesting things and world building to Lord of the Rings, but actually reading through Lord of the Rings, you just don't get to sit and smell the roses that often throughout the story. And so you can go through all Lord of the Rings and not really know a lot about the setting. Just some small things here and there that are like loosely mentioned.
To get a really good idea of Middle Earth, you have to go through supplement material as well.
Yeah, you have to go through a lot. But then I think about like Stormlight Archives. And I think about Kaladin in the war camps. And how much time, two books is dedicated to building up the war camps and Kaladin's connection with a lot of the characters there, and how all the important characters of Stormlight Archives eventually meet up there and start forming connections before then the Everstorm comes and then everything gets moving, you know. And I want to create in this campaign a sense of your environment. By the time we're done with this campaign, I want you guys to feel a personal connection to the city that you're in, and the how the setting interacts with it. And I want it to feel like your war camps, essentially.
Yeah, like the pacing of that narrative style, it's a very interesting like element, because there's like the pros and cons of it, because it's really funny, because conversely I'm thinking about the series I'm working through, Dresden Files. Holy fuck, book 3 is just so much better than like the first two. Like book 3, the immediate quality jump. Also, one of the sickest representations of like a paladin. I adore how Michael is as a character. He's really fun. I love the idea of the avenging like sword of God, but also being a well-to-do family man who doesn't like it when you curse.
Yeah.
Like he feels like a really well-written like just Christian character, because he's very, very Christian.
Right.
But he's not, and like he's intentionally at times poking fun at the main character Dresden, because he's a wizard and he's not religious.
Right.
And it feels more like he's less preachy and more fucking with his friend. Because his friend Harry does the exact same thing. He'll fuck with Michael too. But the idea of is taking the power of God works in mysterious ways very literally, because if you're religious and like Christian in that world, your faith gives you the power of luck and coincidence, because God will very subtly guide people's hands to have his soldiers be in the right place at the right time. It's like that's his power. He has a sick ass sword, and he'll just show up when he's needed sometimes, and it doesn't feel like unearned. But like those books are so fast, or like it's fast, but the time frame that's going on is really small. Like book 2 is such a really fun example of how you can do this well. Book 2, whole threat is you're dealing with werewolves, a lot of different types of werewolves, and it takes place, like the majority of the book takes place over 2 days. The entire like second half, or like 75% of it takes place over the course of I think literally 24 hours. And the fun of that is you deal with Harry getting more and more wounded and exhausted and tired, because he's like, I have nothing in the tank, I have to be super smart with how I'm doing this. Or he's like, he gets shot like halfway through the book in the shoulder, and the rest of the book he's dealing with the fact he got shot. Then near like the final like third of the book, kinda, he gets his foot chomped by a werewolf, and now he's also dealing with that for the rest of the book. And it's how they accumulate just the fact repeatedly, oh yeah, that was like 10 hours ago that Harry got shot.
Yeah.
He's a trooper. That is also a really fun pace for your game. To have it be like, I feel like this has been a week, but it's been a day, and it hits harder. It's such a fun showing of how you can like really use the like resource management like as a mechanic in a game. It feels very gamey with like, man, he's out of spell slots, he's out of resources. This poor man.
Yeah, and the thing is though is like the good part about both of these is they can both happen simultaneously in the same kind of campaign.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and in by no way am I saying that like Lord of the Rings is bad, because it's mostly about the journey of these characters and like their individual it's not even character arcs, really. You could argue that Aragorn goes kind of through a character arc.
Like in the movies, he does. In the book, he's very open with the fact that he should be like he's the heir for Gondor's throne, and he's honestly just kind of okay if he doesn't or does become the king.
Yeah.
In the movie, they gave him the character arc of not wanting to be king, and I think it's a better decision.
Yeah.
And they make Aragorn, I think, just a stronger character, because also it makes his relationship with Eowyn a lot stronger, since it really more hits the vibe of because she's actually a character in the movies. It
Right.
really makes her like that decision of staying with Aragorn is like, all right, you're making yourself mortal. You're not gonna live long, or you have to now deal with the fact that like the person you love is gonna age and die in front of you. It adds a lot more depth in that regard. But like Lord of the Rings is more of a story of like the concept of good and evil and like the degradation of the world, more than it is the individual characters that live in it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, stories are varied, and there's lots of genres, and it was just kind of like an example I could give
Yeah.
of players going through a game. This happened when we did Age of Ashes for Pathfinder 2e, it was the first adventure path we ran, where Age of Ashes is you start off in this little town, and then you go to a Hell Knight, like a Hell Knight keep ruin, and you find that below it there's this ancient elven portal network, and you slowly over time open the portals, go through them, and then you have an adventure somewhere else in Galarian. But it feels so disconnected. It feels like you're just going place to place and you're just doing things for the sake of doing things. And it just never felt like we had a good time, but that was because of our characters and their interactions together more than what anything the module was trying to do for us. And
it is the failing part of a lot of modules where it is really heavily dependent on you as players deciding to play the module, and like we're here to play this story, but it's going to deal with that problem of usually your characters are going to be like kind of ambivalent towards everything else, because you're just doing things, you're not like making the decisions.
And I always feel like in stories it's best when the characters care about anything that's going on.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to do in tabletop in general, because everyone has a different degree of imagination and their ability to like visually conceptualize the setting and what's going on. And you can ask people about their memories of a campaign, and they can't tell you the name of the town that they were in for the longest time, but they could tell you about a particular barkeep in some far off village somewhere that they really liked, and they could tell you everything about him.
Yeah, like those little things because that's the difference of the players decided to make something at the table with the GM.
Yeah.
So that collaborative storytelling really keeps going and keeps everything hit. It's fun, like that. It's always that metric of stories need characters who care. They have to care that the plot is happening.
Yeah.
They might not individually care about like what is going on in the moment, so I think that's totally fair. It's another example for just how the Dresden Files is written. I think it's super strong for it. Harry is a character where I like him because he's not exactly what I pictured him to be. You hear about Harry Dresden and you think, all right, he's going to be some like noir wizard badass. No, the fuck he's not. He is kind of a loser. Uh, he is a character that is repeatedly terrified, making decisions because he's terrified in a moment, and at all times he has the thought in his head of, I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, what if I just left the plot? The
Yeah.
thing that keeps Harry going is he has what he views as a flaw, and a lot of times it does bite him in the ass. He says he's a little too old-fashioned, and he genuinely cannot help himself. And like a woman is in trouble. He's like, I'm too chivalrous. He's like, it's a little misogynistic maybe, but he is under that belief of like, a woman needs help, I'm going to take that effort and help her. And then it bites him in the ass. Or the other aspect for Harry is he is his worst enemy because he genuinely cannot handle the idea that he got somebody hurt or killed. And so he will, like, in moments, he'll even like find the tiniest through line. Like, because of this event is going to happen, maybe. Therefore, that blood is on my hands. And it's like, not really, man. You didn't know this would happen and you made a right decision. Book 2 happens the way it does because literally at the beginning of the book, Harry does not want to help an apprentice of his do something really stupid and dangerous. And because he doesn't help her, the plot happens, and so the entire book, he thinks that everyone's blood is on his hands. And like, that's a really good way to tie a character in to make them super invested in the plot. Like, you need that. You need that in your story. And you can have that in any pacing, in any system. The thing that is necessary is just the level to get buy-in. And a lot of times, it's just having a lot of strong player agency and having them feel like they're impacting the world they're playing in somehow.
Yeah. And I feel like one of the best ways to get immersion and also player investment is a level of familiarity. You know, locations players are familiar with, NPCs players are familiar with. We're going with a slow start for this anime game because I want to build up a level of familiarity between you guys and locations and stuff like that, because I want to describe a location but do it a little differently one time and to have you guys notice.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a thing of like, you would notice it and it would be a very organic thing of like, a normal person wouldn't have noticed this thing, but I did because we've been here so often and we've done this thing so many times. You know, why is the clock tower's face missing? You know, or why does the town square have a statue of a lion now rather than a man before? You know, something like that, where it's just that level of familiarity, because when you describe a scene to someone over and over and over again over the course of a narrative or something like that, you start to see it in your mind. You start to think about it and you start to like live there. And that's immersion. Like, that's just immersive quality. And Brandon Sanderson in some of his books is really good at doing that, like in Tressa and the Emerald Sea, describing the ship and the especially like her room on the ship gets described many times, and it becomes a thing that you start to get very familiar with over the course of the book. The war camps, again, from Stormlight Archive, is another one where, especially down in like the chasms, you start seeing that more in your mind more and more, because a lot happens in the chasms around the war camps.
Yeah. I'll be back in a quick sec, by the way, just like very fast.
Sure. And so it's going to be interesting. This next year is going to be an interesting year. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get to make videos. I really do want to make more videos. I want to make some more videos on Anima. I want to make some more videos on Lancer, Fabula Ultima, Cosmere. It all depends. I have a baby and I'm a full-time parent. So I don't have a lot of free time to do much else, and honestly, I gotta take whatever free time I can to to help my brain by playing games or relaxing or something like that. But I've been thinking about a lot of tabletop stuff, a lot of tables. I have a lot of time to just sit and think. And so it's been quite the experience to get to this point where yeah, no worries. Drive safe.
But yeah, it is like that level of familiarity, intimacy with it, because it's an important aspect that I think a lot of things forget.
Yeah.
Your environment is a character, like, and it should be viewed and kind of worked as such. Because wherever your story is happening can tell a lot about, you know, the characters in it and the world changing alongside everything. It is like the exact same as a character. So, on all aspects, people got to treat it the same. It's not just a bunch of set pieces you're hanging out in.
Yeah, and I wanna segue to talking about books, because this year has been the year I've read the most books I think I've read in my entire life.
Yeah, same.
But an interesting thing in Mistborn Era 2, despite Mistborn Era 1 taking place, like, the first 2 books take place in essentially Luthadel, but 2 very different Luthadels, which is very interesting. But in Era 2 Mistborn, how Brandon Sanderson keeps mentioning some of the, like, societal advancements, so no matter where I'm so tired, my brain. Protagonist man. Wax. Hey, thank you. No matter where Wax goes, it feels like the same kind of place, and so you get a familiarity because there's a lot of similar locations for at least the first few books. He kind of goes a little bit more out of it for the last couple, but mentioning how the city is and the various technological, you know, advancements, his manor or the penthouse that he gets eventually, like, you get a very strong sense of the locations, even if they're different, because of the consistent, like, environmental aspects that keep getting mentioned over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's something I also really want to make you guys feel like the campaign world is consistent from location to location.
The Era 2 and its, like, settings and, like, building out Scadrial and, like, how it's developed, I enjoy the part of I enjoy the callbacks to Era 1 because it feels like it is Sazed being nostalgic at all the people he lost,
yeah,
the friends he doesn't have anymore. So there's a really, like, I think, very sentimental touch to how the callbacks are handled in the context of, like, this is a world rebuilt by Sazed.
Yeah.
And then also the fact that, like, once we leave the main city of Elendel, like, the places outside of Elendel feel very justified of, like, yeah, people were going out of the main city where they, like, left, and they were starting to rebuild because now they really could build outside the city. And then it's dealing with all the logistics of that. So there are places that feel like it was like, oh yeah, they set this up, like, you know, maybe like 200 years ago or something, and it's slowly declined in those 200 years. The Arius feels like it's fleshing out Scadrial really well. Like, that's an element I enjoy of Era 2 a lot. That's why I like the adventure kind of setup it has.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how Era 3 comes about, but man, it must suck.
First chapter.
Yeah, I've actually heard the first chapter. It must suck being Malwish because Sazed just forgot them.
Yeah.
He just is like, fuck the Malwish. I only care about the people in Elendel. That's it.
He's
Which
not a
is
perfect
funny.
man.
No,
He's
it's
not
just
a yeah.
conceptually funny for like, yeah, the god remade our world, but he forgot us out here in the frozen wastes, uh, which is hilarious. But this year, I have read the most books I've read in my entire life. I technically started the first Stormlight book in December, so it's been about a year from around today. You know, I've read through the entire Cosmere, and I'm most of the way through the Cradle series, which Cradle's a very fun, like cultivator power progression. Like, it's like a B plus tier book series. I really like it though. I never thought in my life I would read this many books. And to be fair, a large part of that is because I didn't realize how many books were not crazy long after reading Stormlight, because those things are monsters, and everything else is like half as long or less.
Yeah, like it puts in perspective how long it took, because I don't remember when I started exactly with Cosmere stuff. It was definitely last year, because when you started reading Stormlight was after a chunk of me begging everyone here to read the Cosmere.
Yeah.
But like, I've read so much recently, and I need to get more, and I keep building up more stuff. It's very fun to chew through a series that is really like quick, and I have some really fun things that I can read at. But yeah, also like, I haven't read this much since I was a kid, because I stopped really reading a lot for fun in like middle school.
Yeah, same.
Like 7th or 8th grade was where I stopped just constantly reading, because I was like the most frequent patron of the school library. That was just the thing for me.
I was never that into it, but I would read like 4 or 5 books a year back at that time.
Oh, I inhaled books. Like, I read so much, and I was a speed reader, and basically if a book took me a little longer, it's because it